Welcome to the Bullish podcast, where faith meets mental performance. Let this be your guide on a journey of growth and resilience. Each week, we dive into conversations with top performers, exploring the mindset and faith that fuel their successes. This is the Bullish podcast. And here we are again. It is week 3, episode 3 of the Bullish podcast, season 3. And last week, we sat down with Dr. Adam Formal and we just chatted about motivation. And what an incredible conversation. So if you haven't checked it out yet, check out that episode. We do a deep dive into what are the things, what are the behaviors, what are the different choices we can make to build our motivation and separate from intrinsic and extrinsic motivation. So check it out. Just to recap, the first episode, we sat down with Ariana Ramsey and we just talked about life as an Olympian and the shift into a professional world, because I know a lot of you listening are looking at jumping to the next level, to doing the professional world, the college level, moving it out into higher levels of competition, which brings a whole lot of extra aspects that sometimes I don't think as athletes and musicians we think about. But this week, we are diving into the world of worship, which is a big part of my life. I lead worship, and it's something that I've been doing for a long time, and I get to meet a lot of really incredible people. And our guest today has been leading worship since he was 15 years old, following a calling from God. And so because of that, his testimony is an incredible story of obedience and listening and really diving into that faith like a child. And today we discuss how you keep that passion and that motivation, that drive, and you keep that balance. And what are the things that you have to choose to do as you step into this new life of leading worship and leading others and introducing them into the kingdom of God? What is that like, especially being such a young individual leading people that are decades older than you? And how do you maintain the passion separated from the business, separated from, other types of external motivations that can come in and interrupt your calling, and be able to balance all the extra stuff that happens, whether it's new business opportunities, whether it's getting paid for something you love to do, whether it's getting married and now having a family and raising kids and this new life that God, one, has blessed you with, and something that many of us pray for. And now the harvest has come. And one thing about the harvest that I had to realize when I was younger is that the harvest is more than just, oh, celebration, the harvest is here. If you talk to any farmer, when they say the harvest, they think about now the work is here. Now is the time to get out there and start harvesting, reaping what we sow. And when God blesses us, he's giving us a harvest. And that means it's time to get down, it's time to work. When we pray for something, God gives it to us. What do we do with it then? How do we fully accept this gift that maybe we weren't deserving of, but we are called to do? These opportunities. And so today I have fellow worship leader on the show today. I met him a year ago at a conference. Now he is doing incredible things with his company, Worship Journey, and leading worship at his church. We have Quincy Q. Scott on the show today. Welcome to the Bullish podcast.
What's up? Thanks for having me, bro. It's an honor to be on, man.
Yeah. And like I was talking about earlier, man, we got the locks going. We're killing it with that. I love seeing the girls, man.
They're actually getting retwisted today. They've got a lot of new growth, so.
I got you. That's why I'm wearing a hat. So
yeah.
my new growth, bro. But yeah, man, let's just get started with who you are, what you do in the music world, and we'll start there, man.
For sure. But yeah, so again, my name is Quincy. I go by Q. And really, I love Jesus. I love God since I was, and I know that probably sounds cliche, but literally I since I was a kid, I've always been fascinated by God and his wonder. But yeah, so I love God. I'm happily married. We are about to go on 6 years in September.
Oh man, careful.
So,
you gotta get that right.
Yeah, I'm like, wait a minute, where we at? So, Yeah, about to go on 6 years, happily married. Like, her name's Noni. She's beautiful. I mean,
Mm.
stunning. And man, she's literally I call her the life of my love. So she
Hey,
puts the life in my love. So she's amazing. She's been super supportive, especially with the new season that we're in with our young one. Her name's Nevaeh, 6 months. So just her adjusting to the stay-at-home life from working full time to now being at home, taking care of her, taking care of me too. So she got two babies. So she's just been a super, super huge like help and support, and she's just been killing it. Like, she's amazing. So, yeah.
I
Oh, and
love
it's like besides that, I'm a husband, father,
Yeah.
and I lead worship. I'm based out in St. Louis, Missouri. I lead worship at Twin Rivers Church, and been here for 3.5 years. And I've been leading worship, man, for maybe like 15 years. Since I was 15, I'm 29 now, so almost about 15 years. So, but I've been leading worship for a long time, and I've been here at Twin Rivers for about 3.5 years, and it's just been great, man. It's been great.
Man, just a young guy, young guy. First shout out to our wives, man. For real. They're taking care of like a full-grown baby. That's what I think.
Absolutely. Yep.
So mad shout out, mad shout out. But yeah, man, I love that. 15 years, man. I was thinking like that. 15, that's how long I've been a psychologist, and I feel like that's been a long time. But you've been
Oh
doing it
wow.
since you were 15 years old. So what brought you into it? I mean, obviously God like pulled you in, but the thing when God calls us somewhere, we also have to commit, right? We have to
Yeah,
make the decision to be obedient to those callings. So could
absolutely.
you like tell us a little bit about that journey? What was that like?
Yes, so interesting enough, my music or worship journey is interesting, right?
Okay.
So when I was 5 years old,
Mhm.
I'm in St. Louis now, but I was born in Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Hmm.
And so my dad had a church. He pastored for 8 years. And while I was there, I was 5 years old. There was like a Wednesday night uh, revival or just late night service. Like, I grew up Church of God in Christ, so Kojic,
Mm.
so Pentecostal Black church is like that whole thing. So it's like the shouting, the speaking in tongues, the
Oh yeah.
long extended services. So one of these nights were that it was like just one of those moments where the Spirit of God was just moving. And I remember sitting on the front row and I was just watching God move in deliverance over certain people. And like, I just remember people were like at the altar, they were crying and like
Mm.
what they call the oath purging, and like all this
Yep.
stuff was happening. As a kid, I'm like, what is happening? Like, this is weird and strange, but I was intrigued because I knew like something spiritual was taking place. I knew like deliverance was happening in the room. So
Mm.
I remember just sitting on the front pew, and I felt like, and so at this time we didn't have any musicians.
Mhm.
Nobody was there on any instruments at all. And I remember my eyes locked onto our organ. And I felt like this stirring in my spirit at 5 years old to go and just start playing the organ.
Mm.
Mind you, I have never played an instrument leading up to that point. Not
Yeah.
that I can recall. I've never had a music lesson, never had an instructor. I never even remember desiring to play an instrument or singing or anything like that. But in this moment, I just felt this stirring to go and play. So I just remember getting up while people are laid out on the floor crying out and all these things is happening. And I hopped on and I just began to play chords that I've never been taught. I began to play melodies and different things in that moment. And right then and there, I knew, well, I wouldn't say right then and there, me looking back on it now, like I knew like that was God's stamp on my life,
Mm.
knowing that this is going to be part of my journey. It's going to be part of my purpose that He has in my life. So from then on, I've always been into like music. I would hear melodies in my head. When I got into my teen years, that's kind of when it started like picking up and growing a lot. So I remember like playing like prophetically over people, and every time I would play, people would say like, "Man, I just feel like healing is coming out from these melodies," or I just feel like this calm or this soothing, and it would just be these testimonies of people receiving peace and
Mm.
or deliverance or they just hearing words from God. And I just remember singing at that time too. As I got older, I mean, at first when I was young, I did not like my voice at all. Like it was, everybody has that big singers who had that beginner's voice. It's kind of like really
Yeah.
immature, like developing. Hated it. But I remember my mom was like, "Do not despise small beginnings," and
Hmm.
so that word kind of stuck with me. And so I remember, as I got older, I'm playing and I'm singing, and I would remember singing scriptures over people and just prophetic words, not even really knowing what it was happening or understanding, but I
Yeah.
would hear certain words and get downloads from God and just begin to sing it over people. I was saying stuff over their lives, things that they were going through or things that they need in the moment. And I think from there, I just grew in that place. I just remember spending quality long hours, like times where I should have been outside playing with my friends. I just remember being 14 and 15, like locked in my room for hours, fasting and
Mm.
praying and just hungry for God, and not even just not trying to be deep, not trying to be like the most spiritual person on the planet.
Yeah.
It was like I was literally hungry for this God
Hmm.
that, one, gave me this gift, and that I've encountered his presence. You know what I'm saying? And it
Hmm.
was just like something that I just desperately wanted more of. So I just remember locking myself away for summers and just in my room, just developing that gift, getting on YouTube and learning how to play better and spending time like writing songs. I think the first song that I wrote, I was probably like 9 or 10, and it's about the coming of Jesus Christ. I'm like, why am I 9 years old writing about the rapture and the tribulation? Like, super, like, I was a different kid, but this moments, but I got those type of songs and that type of revelation and moments for just being cultivating that time in private in my room, fasting, praying, all that stuff. And so years gone by, and this was a guy, his name's Eddie James, and
Mhm.
he had a lot of young people following him. He did music ministry and had this creative and arts music ministry that traveled with him around the nation, literally around
Mhm.
the globe. And I remember being like 16, 17, like, man, one day I'm gonna travel with him. Like, I'm gonna get connected with him some way, somehow. I don't know how, but I
Yeah.
love this. And I want to do something like this one day. And years go, fast forward, I was 19 and I sang one of his songs,
Mm.
and he ended up seeing it on Facebook, and we got connected, and I got the opportunity to travel with him for 2 years, and it was life
Oof.
changing. Like, learned a whole lot, connected with a lot of people, learned and grown from just a lot of teachings and just experience. And then after I transitioned from there, I found out like, man, I can actually do this in a church full time,
Mm.
and serve in my gifting at church. And so I've started looking around, and just asking people that I knew, like, hey, do you have a church that hires, and looking for a worship leader? And eventually, somebody that knew the executive pastor that works here at Twin Rivers, they knew each other and they recommended me, and then the rest is kind of history. And I'm kind of here.
Man, that
Yeah,
that is an interesting story.
very interesting.
Man, it
Yes.
sounded like straight up, it just sounded like you became on fire. Like that when the fire just gets let loose, right? And you
Hmm.
can't really like control it, keep it in place, so you just kind of like let it do its thing.
Hmm.
I feel like people are hungry for that. When they it seems like when I sit down with young athletes or musicians and they're looking for whatever you want to call it, flow state, playing out of their mind, whatever, just doing whatever. They're hungry for that feeling, right? They're
Yeah.
hungry for what you experienced. And I think when you have experience, it's so hard to pass that on to someone because it's such intimate one-on-one connection that you get with God, you
Yeah.
know? And bottom line is it all started with you feeling God pulling you and then you just obediently doing it. And
Right.
and I wonder how much do you think age played a part of that? Because we talk about faith like a child, and I have a 3-year-old and a 5-year-old and an 11-year-old, and at different ages they have no
Yeah.
filter, they have no control. They're just like, I'm gonna go do this now. You know what I mean? So that
Hmm.
faith like a child, how much do you think that plays into when as parents we want to really like no one is ever too young, right, to experience
Sure.
Christ,
Yeah.
right? What do you think about that? About when is there a right age, or how would you approach that? And I know you got a young one, so you're probably thinking
Yeah.
about this right now.
Right. I think it does, the age doesn't really matter.
Hmm.
I mean, like we know Jesus was what, 12 when was like in the temple, and even younger
Mhm.
than that, I believe it was the prophet Samuel, I believe,
Yeah.
who was consecrated since his birth,
Mhm.
right? So it was like his mom dedicated him to the Lord at very, very early stage. So I think it's really all about your sensitivity to the spirit of God, like
Mm.
to the calling on your child's life. So I think you have to be intentional with not just sending them off to watch TV, or just not just taking care of them, but just doing the bare minimum, like invest in praying over them, even at 3 weeks old, 6 months
Mm.
old, like pray over them. God, show me the calling that's on their life, the giftings that are on their life. Help me to notice the little things that they might be interested in, or the small anointings, or the small, just creative things that they might have, so that you can know how to steward that well. And so I think it's important to, I don't even think age has anything to do with it. I think it's
Mhm.
just like spending time in prayer, over intentional prayer over your child, over your kids, to make sure that you're in step with what God is doing in their lives. So I mean, yeah, being in the presence, and then
Right.
asking God to just show you, so
Yeah, man, that was an off the cuff question. I know we weren't going to talk about that, but I just like, this is interesting. This is an interesting
yeah,
thing to chat about, because yeah, it's just making it part of your household culture, right? Like you eat food, right? You drink water every day,
right,
right? Like
yeah,
why not pray? Why not have time
exactly,
dedicated to praying and worshiping?
yeah.
So
And
I love that.
we can underestimate the power of prayer, because it seems like,
Mm,
oh my gosh, pray. It seems like a churchy answer response, but
yeah.
it's really not. It's like that's literally our communication with God. That's how we get answers. That's how we get closer and connected and get sharper discernment. It's like that's our connection with the Lord and communication.
Right.
So it's important. So we got to do that. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, we gotta do that. I love that. I
Yeah.
love that. Um, and we'll get back to music here for a second. And
Yeah.
but that's an awesome topic, man. So when I talk to a lot of musicians, it's a little bit ties in with identity, like who am I? What does it mean to be a musician? Right? Like what does
Mhm.
that look like? And it seems like those who have made it through the questioning stages that I've talked to, they had those moments where they're like, is this my job or is this still my passion? Right. And they go through the stages of like burnout. Have you ever experienced that as you moved it into like, now I'm getting paid to do this? Right.
Mhm.
Has there ever been moments where you're like, is this still something that I want to do? Am I still driven by passion, or am I now driven by something else? I think that's how it is.
I think absolutely. There's been times, not even just where I'm at currently, but even times in the past where if I have experienced burnout, especially when I was traveling for
Mm,
the 2 years, because there was extensive travel, like almost every day we were in a different state, ministering and pouring out, and God was moving, but I mean, physically it's draining. You get exhausted. You're on the road all the time. So it can take a toll on you mentally and spiritually. And so there were times where I felt like I'm just doing this out of routine. I'm just doing this
mm,
mundanely. I'm just doing this because, not that I'm stuck, but it's just like I got to do it. It's not like I can quit, or I can't quit, but it's not like I can just be like, okay, I don't feel like doing it today. Like I'm getting paid to do this now. So
yeah.
it's like, it's hard to carry that tension of like, man,
Mm,
I'm tired, I'm feeling burnout. And I think I got the burnout because I don't think I was prioritizing my time well.
mm,
I neglected like my health.
mm,
I wasn't putting things in its proper place. And so there was a season of my life where I was just like, you know what, I don't have any connection with what I'm doing. Like I'm up here singing um, songs about how worthy God is and how He's a healer, and just all the worship songs on the top charts, and it's like my heart is just not here.
Mm.
And for me, it got to a point to where I was just like, I can't live like this anymore. I can't continue doing this, and because it's just, I'm disconnected. And Mark talks about like, they honor me with their lips, but their hearts are far from me.
Yeah.
And I experienced that. Like, my heart was just not near the Lord in that aspect, because it's like, when you start doing something for so long and it's draining your energy, it's like you kind of just want to break. You want to break. It's like, I don't feel like doing this. Like, I don't feel like singing another song. I don't feel like singing "Worthy is the Lamb." If I have to sing it one more time, it's like you just kind of get tired.
Yep.
And I think I got into that place because I think I stopped fearing God. And that might go over some people's heads, but I stopped fearing God. And basically, fear is not like, ooh, I'm afraid of you, but fear is like this observance of the worth of God, the value of God. And I think we treat things commonly, or we get burnt out because we lose the value of things. You know what I'm saying? Like, for an example, like I'll use a different example. I was going to use marriage, but you had a really nice car. And you drive it all the time, but then because you get so used to the car, you just start, after a while, like I think we all experience, sometimes you start putting water bottles in there. When you first get the car, it's like, man, I'm gonna keep this thing clean. I'm gonna keep it washed every week. But after some time goes by, you're like, oh, I'll just leave this water bottle in there. Oh, I'll wait a couple of months before I get it clean, or I won't. I'll change the oil. You start kind of like letting it go a little bit more because you lost the value of this really dope car. And so I think it's like the same thing with God sometimes. Like, he's not a car, but he is something that is worth extreme value. And when you treat him common, or when you just like, oh, that's just God, you just start doing things just routinely, you just start losing the value or the reverence or like the awe of why you're doing it. And I think I lost that because I allowed my physical state or my mental state to kind of pull me away from God instead of pulling me closer to him. And so I think what puts people in a cycle of burnout and not wanting to like continue on passionately is like losing the fear of God. And so when you reverence him, when you hold the value and the worth of who he really is, it's hard to just not do it with passion. Because if you truly lock in with what and who God is, it's like, yeah, I have to do this intentionally. I have to do this with some sort of passion because of who God is at the end of the day. So hopefully that makes sense.
No, that makes a ton of sense. And I do like the example of a car. You know, I use car examples all the time. And it sounds like complacency, right? Like when things become a normalcy for you, you can become complacent. You can let your body kind of take over, your muscles take over, and you can kind of take a back seat, right? And that environment sounds so contrary to when you were a kid in the bedroom, on fire for God, just there for hours on YouTube, searching. What is the thing that was added to it that made it now a normalcy, a complacency thing, do you think?
I think it's a lot of, not a lot of things, but it's a few things that can probably play into that. The first thing I will probably say is pride. And what I mean by pride is sometimes when you get so good at a thing, you can kind of think that you got it all together and that you don't need as much help as you used to, or you don't have the necessity for God anymore. So like for somebody who was once without a lot of money and now they have a lot of money, it's like you have this mentality like, I'm good, I don't really need God, really. I can get anything I want. Yeah. So it's this pride and this arrogance that, I can get complacent now because I don't necessarily need you. Like, my voice is better than it was when I was a kid. My piano skills is better. Like, I have more opportunities now. Like, ways are being made. Like I can call this person, do this, and I can be like, I can almost do this on my own. So I don't really need God. So one, I would say pride, in which I did experience. There was a lot of situations where I had to be humble and know that I need God. A real example was I was playing at my church and singing. It was a good moment, and I did this run, and in my mind, I was like, man, I was hyping myself up, like, and I was trying to do more and be extra. And immediately, like I literally felt his presence or the anointing lift off me in that moment. And I heard him say, like, I resist the proud, but give grace to the humble. In that moment, I knew, like, God, I need you. And so when I would say pride, the mindset that you don't need God as much will make you complacent. Two, I think commonly you just undisciplined. The Bible teaches us to study to show yourself approved. For my line of work as a worship leader, like I need to study, I need to develop and be disciplined, and not only my craft, but my time with the Lord. And so if I get caught up binge watching Netflix and Prime Video and streaming all day, or I'm on a game, or I'm just hanging out and I'm not spending quality time with God, and I'm undisciplined in the Word, of course I'm going to get complacent because I'm not spending time with the one that I'm always singing about. I'm not learning anything new about the one that I'm trying to lead people to. So it's like being undisciplined. So pride, not needing God, and being undisciplined. I would say a third one would probably be, I think I said it earlier, just not prioritizing. And so for me, that looks like my family first, God first, my family, and properly aligning my time, like time management. Like a lot of creatives, we have very poor time management skills, and that's something I'm working on. And so I think I get complacent or treating this thing as common because I'm not placing any value or prioritizing this in its proper, I'm not storing it well in the proper time that it needs to be placed in my life. And so those are the kind of three things that I would say is like huge, like pride, not having a need for God, discipline, undisciplined, and then also it's just not prioritizing your time.
Yeah, no, that's good. I mean, those first two, it sounds very pre-Diluvian. What was the world like, before the flood came? A lot of people saying, I don't need God anymore. Yeah, I don't need God anymore. And God doesn't like that. He says that, because it's love, it's a relationship, right? And we gotta remember that. Well, I have to remind myself, like everything from like this podcast to like our business, all the talents and the gifts, our family, that's all given from God. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And even in the times where we were distant from God, he still loved us enough to still give us these things. You know what I mean? How many people around us are we like you don't want to talk to, so you don't give them gifts, right? Like, I know, just being human, like if I'm mad at you, I might begrudgingly give you a gift, and we have a God that's willing to give us that, these things for us, even if we don't appreciate the value of them, and then the last thing that you said was good, that prioritizing, right? Time management, especially as a creative, because our God is a creator, like he's creative, right? And especially within this music industry, separating that business from the art, what do you actively do so that you can still have that heart of creativity as a creator and still work in the field and continue to move forward like that?
I think that's the challenge that I'm kind of like working through now, because it's so much I have an entrepreneur heart. Like there's so much, I'm ambitious. There's so much stuff I want to do that I know God's called me to do. And it's hard to hold the tension of that. And so I'm literally seeking God, like, okay, how do I hold all of this? Or what do I need to give up? Or what do I need to put forward, or what do I need to like just pull back just a little bit? Like I'm just seeking the Lord on wisdom how to do that. I think that's the best way to do it. Like, because he holds all wisdom. He said, listen, uh, fear, fear the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. And so I'm literally in that place where it's like, God, I can't rely on my own understanding. I need yours. Your time management. Obviously, you're the best at it. You created time, so you know how to manage it. So that's my approach right now, is literally just getting up, finding random times in the day, just like, God, help me. I don't get all the fancy words to say right now, but I need you to show me how to prioritize this time. How do I give energy and space for this project or this project? Like, what is more important right now? Like, what are you leading me to do in this moment? And just practically, I was talking to a mentor of mine, and because I have a kid now, it's like she's 6 months, and we sleep training and all the different things, and then you have spending time with your spouse, and then with friends, and then at church, and then everything, you taking care of yourself, like all these different things that require your time. I'm like, he was just like, you have to marry yourself to the idea that sleep is your new being tired is your new posture. Like, you're going to be tired.
That's right.
Like, that's just what it is. So you have to learn how to kind of like push through it. Like, you can't use being tired as an excuse to not be diligent or disciplined or to steward the things that God's given you well. Like, you just got to push through it. Like, I wish there was some magic formula to make sure that you get 8 hours of sleep and then you have all the energy in the world. It's like, unfortunately, life just does not work like that. Like, you have 100%. The nuances, you have all the different things that are that just the ebb and flow of life, and things just happen. So you really got to lean on God and take your vitamins, eat well, like seriously, like eat well, work out, take care of your body, drink water, like all this, like the practical. A lot of sometimes we can like neglect that and be super spiritual heavy, but it's really like the reason why a lot of y'all are not as creative or have the energy and passion to even dive into that aspect and be disciplined with it, because you're just not eating right. You're eating hot fries every day.
That's real, man. Yeah.
And candy and juice and soda and like all these things that are bad for your gut and your body. And it's like, yeah, you're not gonna feel creative. Your second brain is not even able to function right. So it's like, I'm trying. So right now it's an active battle for me to get my diet together and get my diet, drinking more water. So I think for me, that's my problem. I'm not putting the right things in my body so that I can be able to think clear and just be more creative. So it's more practical for me.
No, I love that. And so it's something I had to tell myself is just, this is life now, right? It's like, we prayed for this, God gave it to us, and now it's like, this is life now. Being tired is part of life now, right? Having to wake up an hour earlier so you can have stuff that you can get done before the kids wake up. That's just life now, right?
And and honestly, bro, like that's a hard thing for me, because I hate being tired. Like, I need to have energy to do what I want to do. Like, because the way my brain is set up is like, if I don't have the energy for it, I just can't do it. Because but I'm having that challenge to just marry my mindset to that. Like, being tired is just life right now, and I have to see God on how to navigate that and just treat my body better. So
yeah, exactly.
I feel that on a deep level.
And thankfully we have our wives, right? Because when Moses got tired, people helped him hold his arms up. You know what I mean? And we have our spouses that can stand with us, which says that we're blessed. When you have someone with you, when you get tired, someone's there to pick you up, right? Like, that's Absolutely. Why you gotta have that. You gotta have that community. So, but yeah, man, I know, man, this time flew by really fast. We're coming to the end of it. I want to give a shout out to Worship Journey. So do you want to take a moment to chat about that a little bit? What is it? What you do?
Yes.
What is Worship Journey?
Yeah. So Worship Journey is literally like, we have the heart to take care of the whole being. So wisdom, holistically, and just wholeheartedly. We want to develop the whole body of the worship leader. So mentally, we want to make sure that you're good. Your heart, we want to make sure it's good, and your body. Because a lot of people, they focus on the art more than they really focus in on the heart, the inner parts of you. And so we can easily do workshops on how to sing better, how to play better, etc. But it takes a lot more to make sure that your your soul, the inner part of who you really are, is healthy and whole. And so Worship Journey is basically an organization that God placed in my heart to launch to help pour into worship leaders and creatives to make sure that they are mentally good, that they're spiritually good, and that they're physically good and healthy. And so we have an Instagram page at Worship Journey. And you will find like tips and just things that help encourage you throughout your life. And the reason why I call it Worship Journey is because worship is a lifestyle and life is a journey. And so
that's right.
Worship Journey. So we try to carry that with that type of posture and that mindset. And then we do workshops. I have one coming up in a few weeks, and we do conferences and nights of worship just to keep that culture healthy and strong. And so come check us out, Worship Journey.
I love that. I love it. Do you work with anybody outside of your local area? Is it nationwide or?
Right now it's local, but I mean, it's literally open to everybody. Like, we're actually going to have a conference in October, or a summit, and it's going to be free, and we're just opening up to the public. Then we're going to have speakers and worship and workshops just to pour into whoever wants to come and just receive. So
man, I love that. I love that. Well, Q, thank you for being on the show today, and super blessed for you to share your wisdom. This was awesome. This was very cool. So thank you for being on today, brother.
Thanks for having me. It's an honor. Let's do this again.
Man, and I have huge plans to get you back on the show, but thank you for being on. Guys, if you're a musician or you're an athlete that's looking to level up, you're trying to reach those professional arenas, and you're seeing these athletes and musicians who are just killing it, and you want to know what the X factor is, it's mindset. Reach out to us. We'd love to chat more. www.bullishthrive.com. Check out all the seasons, all the episodes of Bullish Thrive podcast for just free wisdom and just discussions with other incredible professionals that are in the field that you want to reach, and just hear what they have experienced and how they've managed to continue to succeed. Looking forward to hopping on to another incredible conversation next week. Stay tuned because it is a good one, and we'll talk very soon. And always remember, it starts with you, and your destiny is waiting. Peace.